Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It is great to have all of us together, from our youngest to some of our more older of our community. That includes me, just to let you know. Those of us who perhaps know the service better than some of our youngest. How's that? It is really an exciting time of year. It is Elul, which hopefully our children know, is about 2 weeks, just under 2 weeks now until our high holidays. And I'm telling you that not just because it's a reminder of the prayer book that we're using, but a reminder of why we use it, which is, this is specifically during this time. There are certain customs and traditions we do. It's a time for reflection, for looking inward in anticipation of those high holidays. So we'll be sure to give you the page numbers, and if you have any questions, turn to someone who looks like they know what they're doing, and they will gladly help you. I want to welcome Cantor Raisin to the Bima tonight. She's doing me a very big favor. Those of you who have heard me complain for the last, 9 months about my voice, turns out I actually have a problem. So I'm working on getting that fixed, but I am not going to subject you to what it would sound like in the meantime. So we are so grateful for her, and the melodies may be a little bit different, but we are a group of people who can easily follow along and hum and sing, and I hope that you will support Cantor Raisin, whatever music she is bringing to us. So Shabbat Shalom, and we'll begin with a few songs.
Shabbat Shalom. So I'm really glad to be here with you all. It's wonderful to be in my new chapter of life and retirement, that actually be able to come back on a Bima. So thank you for having me. I thought it would be wonderful to start with something like Hine Matov, which can be found on page 3 in your Siddur. Just because, yes, I'm very grateful to be here, and how good and how pleasant it is for us to all gather together. This tune was actually introduced to me through the Dayton Jewish Chorale, so I don't know if there's any choralniks out there, or anybody that knows this. Perhaps Courtney has sung this. There's a little a call and response in English in the middle of it that says, how good it is, and you sing that back to me, how sweet it is. Oh, I'm seeing some heads nodding, so maybe you know this. You know this one? Good, all right, I don't have to teach it. Here we go. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachan. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachan. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachan. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this day. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachan. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachan. Great. It's so nice to start with something you know. Well, also, as Rabbi Karen mentioned, we are heading into the high holidays, and I think that you also may be familiar with this. It is traditional each day of Elul to recite Psalm 27, and I believe that you have that on page 8 in your Siddur, and there's a piece of that is often sung on Al Achat Sha'alti. One thing, just one thing that I have asked of God, only this do I seek, to dwell in God's house for all the days of my life, to behold divine sweetness and beauty, and to gaze in delight at God's temple. Achat sha'alti me'et Adonai, ota avakesh. Achat sha'alti me'et Adonai ota avakesh. Shivti bevet Adonai kol yamei chayai. Lachazot benoham Adonai ulevaker bechechalo. Lachazot benoham Adonai ulevaker bechechalo. Achat sha'alti me'et Adonai ota avakesh. Achat sha'alti me'et Adonai ota avakesh. Shivti bevet Adonai kol yamei chayai. Lachazot benoham Adonai ulevaker bechechalo. Lachazot benoham Adonai ulevaker bechechalo. And how about we wrap up with something from Kabbalat Shabbat? Is that okay? Sure. Okay. That is on page 22. And I see we have 1, 2, 3 verses. That'll work. Okay. This was one of my favorites, sometimes referred to as the stripper melody, but I'll get that straight for this. This is old Craig Talman tune. Lecha lecha tehudi likrat likrakala b'nei penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha tehudi likrat likrakala b'nei penei Shabbat nekabela. La 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 la. Lecha tehudi likrat likrakala b'nei penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha tehudi likrat likrakala Penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad. Hishme'anu el ha'meyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad. L'shem u'tiferet v'leiti la 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 l'chadati likrat likrakala Penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lechadati likrat likrakala Penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha ki mekor haberacha merash mikedem nesucha. So ba'azeh b'machshavat la 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 l'chadati likrat likrakala Penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lechadati likrat likrakala Penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Hit oreri ki va'orek kumi ori uri shira beheri kavod Adonai alayik ni la 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 l'chadati likrat likrakala Penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lechadati likrat likrakala Penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Do you guys stand here? Yes? No?
It's not our turn.
Okay, that's all right. Vo'i v'shalom ateret vala Gam v'simcha u'v'tzola Tochem unei am segula Bohi chalam Lecha lechadati likrat likrakala Penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha toti likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela la 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 lecha toti likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela lecha toti likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela.
Beautiful. That's Taubman, right? Is that
Yes,
correct, Taubman?
that is
That's
Taubman.
one of my favorites.
An oldie but a goodie.
It is, but I don't know that we've heard it. Has anyone here heard that before? We haven't done that for a while, I don't think. So, but it's, yeah, it has it. I'd never heard of it referred to quite that way. So thank you for introducing that to me. Let's turn to page 7. As we have entered a little later than we normally feel like we do, it's truly a time for turning if you look outside. And so we read, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven. Now is the time for turning. The leaves are beginning to turn from green to red and orange. The birds are beginning to turn and are heading once more toward the south. The animals are beginning to turn to storing their food for the winter. For leaves, birds, and animals, turning comes instinctively. But for us, turning does not come so easily. It takes an act of will for us to make a turn. It means breaking with old habits. It means admitting that we have been wrong, and this is never easy. It means losing face. It means starting all over again, and this is always painful. It means saying, "I'm sorry." It means recognizing that we have the ability to change. These things are terribly hard to do, but unless we turn from callousness to sensitivity, from hostility to love, from pettiness to purpose, from envy to contentment, from carelessness to discipline, from fear to faith. Turn us around and bring us back toward you. Revive our lives as at the beginning, and turn us toward each other, for in isolation there is no life. We have our candle blessing on page 10, and I'd like to invite Amy Margolin to come forward and help us with lighting our Shabbat candles.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahavlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic might, teaching us holiness through sacred obligations, giving us the mitzvah of bringing light on Shabbat.
Thank you. We can turn to page 24 for Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitkadash meraba echol amadi barak yurutei v'yamalech malchutei v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayet kol beit Yisrael Bagala, uvizman kariv, vehimaru, amen. Yehesh meraba mevarach, le'avam kol amechamaya, yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitromam, v'yitasev, v'yithadar, v'yitalev, v'yitalal, shemer kudesha b'richu, le'elamin kol bechata v'shir chatam, tush bechata v'nechemata, ta'amiran be'alama ve'himeru. Amen.
I invite you to rise if you are able. We'll turn now to page 26 at the top. This quote by Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel: "There is no human being who does not carry a treasure in the soul, a moment of insight, a memory of love, a dream of excellence, a call to worship."
Baruch Adonai Baruch Leolam Avahen.
On page 28 in the Hebrew, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach she'arim, uvitvuna meshana etim, umachalif et hazmanim, umesader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom umevi layla, umavdil bein yom uvein layla, Adonai tzvaot shemo, el chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai, creator of twilight and dusk. We read together in the bottom of page 31, "Open up our eyes, teach us how to live. Fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one." Page 32.
Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael.
Amen.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod, Malachuto, Le'olam Va'ed.
You may be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לחות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
Continuing on page 36. למען
תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, Adonai Elohechem, Amen.
Page 38, together please. Truth and faith, these are fundamental to our existence. God alone is their source, and we are Israel, a people of God. Our sovereign saves us from tyranny, redeems us from its violence through countless wonders, from its brutality through great feats beyond measure. We are Israel, a people of God, the giver of life, who would not let our feet give way, the maker of miracles for us against Pharaoh, of signs and portents in the land of Egypt, the one who brought our people Israel from its midst to enduring freedom. Page 40.
Yum bum bum bim bim bum yabba bum bum bim bum yabba bum bim bim bum yabba bum bim bum ya bum bim bim bum yabba bum bim bum ya bum bim bim bum yabba bum bim bum me kamo ka bailim Adonai me kamo ka nedara pakodesh nor hati Lord o sebele nor hati Lord o sebele malchuteka rahu banecha bokeh ayam alivnei Moshe Miriam ze Eli anu ve'amru Adonai lo elam ba'eri bum bum bim bim bam yabba bum bim bam yabba bum bim bim bam yabba bum bim bam yabba bim bim bam yabba bum bim bam yabba bim bim bam yabba bum bim bam V'nechem machar kivad Adonai et Yaakov U'ge'alom yad chazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai Ka'al Yisrael.
Amen. We turn to page 42 and pray together. Bless our sleep with peace, Adonai, and awaken us to life when we rise. With power sublime, spread over us your shelter of shalom, and through your wisdom restore us, make us whole. Let your name proclaim your presence in our lives, be our shield, make us stronger than the enemies we face, illness and war, famine and sorrow, and stronger than the enemies in our hearts, wickedness and sin. Carry us to safety as on wings, for you are the monarch of grace, the sovereign of compassion. You are the one who cares for us and sets us free. Watch over us, we who go forth to life. Watch over us that we may come home in peace, now and till the end of time. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. We continue on page 46. At the very bottom of the page, those of you who do not have glasses, I apologize. So, the act of stopping to refresh oneself by taking a breath. Hebrew is vayinafash, from the word nefesh, meaning breath, soul, or life. This act is intrinsic to the experience of Shabbat. Renewing our souls on the seventh day is both life-saving and conducive to spiritual growth. Our sages believe that on the Sabbath we are endowed with a higher level of awareness, perhaps because we take the time to stop and breathe. Said Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, the Holy One gives an extra soul to a human being on the eve of Shabbat. When Shabbat leaves, the extra soul departs. The additional soul helps us leave behind the turmoil of the week and experience the joy of Shabbat. If you are able, I invite you to please rise for the tefillah. Page 48.
Adonai, Sefata Tifach, Ufi Agit Tehilatecha. Adonai, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, El HaGadol, HaGibor, v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'koneh HaKol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot, V'imahot, U'mei Gula, Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shema B'Yahava, Melech Ozer, U'Moshiach, U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah.
Page 52. Atah Gibor.
Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol atah, Roshei HaKol, Morid atah, Mechayeh HaChaim b'chesed, Mechayeh HaKol berachamim rabim, Zomech noflim verofech olim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'gevurot, Umidom elach, Melech Benit Umekayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua Enemad Atalach HaChayot HaKol Baruch Atah Adonai Mechayeh HaKol Atah Kadosh Shimcha Kadosh Ukdoshim Koyom Yachalalu Chatzela Baruch Atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh.
Amen. Please be seated. Cantor Raisin, I'm sorry I missed my cue. I think that was my fault. On page 57, we read the Kavanah from the Elul Psalms. Please read with me. A year of your goodness, your crowning gift. Your paths grow lush with oil, drop by drop. Pastures for grazing thrive in the wilderness, and the hills are encircled with joy. Flocks of sheep clothe spacious fields, and the valleys wear garments of grain. Filled to bursting, they shout, they praise, an exultant song of delight. We turn to page 61. And again, I invite you to please pray with me to shape the world anew. The sea pushes back off the shore, yielding to gravity with a sigh, not a leaving, but a letting go, a retreat into its own deep fullness. The sun relinquishes its hold on the sky, only to rise once more at daybreak as the tide rolls back in, a different kind of letting go, an unspooling across the expanse. And we, creatures of earth, are granted a fresh start, a chance to gather the debris and shape the world anew. Wholeness is a kind of holiness, the stasis of perfection. But brokenness demands recreation, a churning cycle of endings and beginnings, the act of pulling hope and brightness from the wreckage, taking the jagged shards and making of them, if not wholeness, a new sort of sacred splendor. We continue with Reitzei on 62.
Reitzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amcha Yisrael, u'tefilatan be'ahava tikabel b'ratzon, u'tehil ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael hamecha. El karov lechol koral, pnei lavatecha v'choneinu, shepoch rochacha aleinu.
We continue towards the bottom of 64. V'techazenu Inenu b'shuva l'tzion b'rachamim. Baruch atah Adonai, hamachazir shechinato l'tzion. On page 69, for all these gifts. For the gifts I received today, air in my lungs, pulse in my veins, my restless mind alive and curious, awakening suddenly to beauty, for love and the memory of love, forgiveness when I didn't deserve it, another chance at life. Let my soul give thanks to you. Let me not forget your kindness. On the right-hand side, Baruch atah Adonai, Hatov Shimcha Ulacha Na'el Lehodot. Blessed are you, Adonai, whose goodness deserves thanks and praise. We continue with Shalom Rav on page 70.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tazim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tazim Le'olam. Ki atahu melech adon lecho hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tazim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tazim le'olam. V'tov b'necha levarech et amacha Yisrael. V'kol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tazim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tazim le'olam. Tazim le'olam. Tazim le'olam.
At the bottom of the page, Baruch atah Adonai, hamavarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. You, Adonai, are the blessed one who blesses us with peace. Please take a moment for your own silent prayer and reflection. Page 74.
Ose shalom bimromav, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Ose shalom bimromav, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru
So when we decided to add to our collection of prayer books, and I love this book, I chose it for a lot of reasons, one of which I accidentally made a mistake about. I did not check to see that they had a Torah service in this book. So rather than move away from it, I wanted to perhaps have us focus more on some of the liturgy and some of the melodies as we move into this season than necessarily read directly from the Torah. But of course I will speak directly to the Torah portion this night. And I'll try to project as much as I can. As you can tell, the voice is already starting to go. So, this week's Torah portion, Kitavo, presents us with a profound choice: the path of blessing or the path of curse. As the Israelites prepare to enter the promised land, Moses lays before them the consequences of their actions, teaching that their fate depends on how they will fulfill God's commandments. And this is done especially in relation to those most vulnerable among them, the stranger, the orphan, and the widow. In fact, Kitavo shines a light on communal responsibility. It emphasizes how a society's blessings are often tied directly to how well it treats those in need, regardless of their background or origin. In chapter 26, we are reminded that we have an obligation to bring tithes, not only on our own behalf, but for those with no one else to care for them, we bring to them. The Torah commands us to protect, guard, and love the stranger no less than 36 times. It's not simply a suggestion, but an obligation, a moral directive rooted in empathy and shared history. When the Israelites are told to bring those first fruits of the land as an offering, they were instructed to recite specific words, which are the following, and words you may be familiar with from the Passover Haggadah. And actually, we had a discussion about this earlier in the week with our other Torah Queries commentary, but I'm going to use the most popular translation, which is a little different. So it says, "A wandering Aramean was my father, and he went down to Egypt and sojourned there. And the Egyptians dealt ill with us and afflicted us. And the Lord brought us forth out of Egypt with a mighty hand." I hope that sounds a little bit familiar. Yeah. I'll just pretend you all said yes. So when it comes time for Passover, it will be true. These are the words of the Vidui Bikurim, these confessions of the first fruits. And they do more than recount the historical journey from slavery to freedom, but they remind us that our story begins with wandering and with being strangers in a foreign land. In fact, the refugee experience is a central part of Jewish history. We have been defined by our experiences as wanderers, and from the 2 millennia we had of searching for safety and security. We're taught in this portion true gratitude is connected to recognition of our own humble beginnings. Recently, we have heard disturbing remarks suggesting that the Haitian migrants of Springfield lack Western civilized values. I want to share that I find these statements profoundly troubling because I believe they run counter to everything we have been taught about loving the stranger, for we were strangers in the land of Egypt. It would be much easier to turn away from those who are different, to see the outsiders as a threat. As Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs notes, our neighbor is one we love because he is like ourselves. The stranger is one we are taught to love precisely because he is not like ourselves. Jewish tradition doesn't just ask us to tolerate those who are different, it commands us to love them. Our tradition reminds us to rise above fear and suspicion, to remember that we too were once strangers, vulnerable and in need of help. Kitavo asks us to consider the consequences of our actions, both as individuals and as a community. When we treat others with compassion, we bring blessing upon ourselves and our society. Deuteronomy 27:19 teaches us, "Cursed is anyone who withholds justice from the stranger, the fatherless, or the widow." In essence, to fail in this responsibility is to bring curses to the community. When we devalue others, when we fail to see their humanity, we allow the seeds of division to take root. If we allow fear or prejudice to dictate how we treat others, we invite chaos, suffering, and fragmentation into our world. Now, I'll be honest and say that I don't personally subscribe to the belief that suffering or success in this world is caused by our choices of choosing blessing or curse. Rather, I believe that what we would label curses are natural consequences of a community that fails to live up to its highest values. Maimonides teaches in the Mishnah Torah that the highest form of tzedakah is to help someone in a way that lifts them up to a point where they no longer need to rely on the help of others. This principle applies not only to individuals, but to the society as well. We are called to create systems that provide safety, opportunity, and dignity for all people. When we hear statements that generalize or devalue others based on their culture or diverse origins, we must speak out. Haitian migrants, like all people, are created b'tselem Elohim, in the image of God, and they deserve to be treated with the same respect and dignity as anyone else. Not only that, but they must be protected and helped so that they may find their own successes. Kitavo reminds us to choose blessing, the path that lifts up the vulnerable. We must resist the urge to look away, and instead we must work to bring blessing into this world through our acts of justice and compassion. Let us speak up for the dignity of all people, regardless of where they come from or what they have endured. Shabbat Shalom. Before we move on, even though we don't have a Torah service, I do want to bring forward anyone who is celebrating a birthday or an anniversary. If that is you, please come forward. September? Anybody? Linda? Anybody else? I put the melted chocolate bar up here to remind me, but I have the good one for you.
Nancy's coming. Nancy's got a birthday, too.
Excellent.
All right, Nancy. Monday is coming up.
Well, happy early birthday. When is your birthday?
September 4th.
Well, happy belated birthday. Wonderful. I want to give both of you some chocolate
Thank you.
and tell you that we wish upon you both blessing and goodness, and that you may all of your endeavors be blessed. May you find nothing but success and health and happiness in this year to come. And with that, we wish you a Shabbat Shalom and a Mazel Tov.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for coming up.
Nancy.
Thank you.
At this time, we think as well of those in our community who are in need of healing, both those near and far. We think of our Israeli soldiers and the civilians being held captive as we recite the following. Our God, the one who raised Joseph up from the pit, be a refuge for the oppressed, a refuge in times of trouble. Send complete rescue and full redemption to those held captive by the enemy. Strengthen their spirit and bring them our prayers, that they be protected from all harm. Implant understanding in the heart of the enemy, that they may return the captives in wholeness of body and spirit. Grant wisdom to the IDF, that they may secure freedom for the captives without loss of life. Grant strength of spirit and courage of heart to all the sons and daughters of Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar, to release bonds of captivity and allow us all to live in freedom. As we read in Psalm 91, they shall call upon me and I will answer them. I will be with them in distress. I will rescue them and honor them. We think of our community here as well for those who are in need of healing, in need of shalom. Mishaberach avotenu v'imotenu, mishavarech v'rapeh et hacholim. May the one who has blessed our ancestors continue to bring blessing upon Tim Holman, Jim Locke, Jordan Arms, Ella Dubrow, Jeremy Watts, Brandon Watts, Bert Seidel, Bruce Brenner, Barb Gronefeld, Isaac Spicer, David Hernandez, Norman and Carol Leist, Andy Leifheit, Rob Mandel, Ken Rosenzweig, Kyle Kreider, Anna Pullman Garcia, Bobby DeSalvo, Justin Zeisloft, Natalie Katz, James Weston, Cynthia Weston, Isaac Stoller, Kajimira Cairo, Mariah Strickland, Eileen Eady, Catherine Cooper, Sid Gross, Cicely Nathan, and Gary Pacernick. I'd like to invite you to call forward the names of any others we would like to think of and lift up at this time. Baruch atah Adonai Rofeh HaCholim. Blessed are you, O God, who brings healing to those in need of healing. We continue with the words of Misha Berach on page 77.
Misha Berach avotenu mekorach habracha ve'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mekorach habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We turn to page 78, and if you are able, I invite you to please rise for Aleinu.
Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula liotzer bereshit, shelo asanu k'goyei haratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu chahem, v'kor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei malech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'nehemar v'yadonai l'malech al kol haaretz v'yom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
You may be seated. We turn to page 85. Our thoughts turn to loved ones whom death has taken from us in recent days. We are in a period of Aninut for Lance Rose and a period of Shiva for Ted Gewurtz, a period of Shloshim as well for Bonnie Newman. We also remember those who died at this season in years past. Our hearts open as well to the wider circles of loss in our community and wherever grief touches the human family. This time we specifically remember Theodore Abrahams, Arthur Bierman, Dr. Malcolm Block, Jerome Bloomfield, David Bowers, Miriam Burt, Jim Cox, Nathan Feinberg, Victoria Frank, Samuel Frank, Vincent A. Gaglione, Leo Galler, Greg Glasser, Mamie M. Gleiwitzer, Mitchell M. Barrar, Candace Goldflies, Betty Gottschalk, Morris Handler, Bessie Jacobs, Belle S. Kotler, Rose Cuppen, Joseph Liebensberger, Samuel C. Linder, Sanford Lustig, Carol A. Miller, Gertrude Myers, Nettie Pinsker, Ruth Ricky Pataski, Charles Rosenblum, Isaac Hirsch Rosenthal, Elizabeth Plout Hamburger, Max Schreiber, Lula Blant Schultz, Joseph Schwab, Joanne Shaman, Blanche Berenstein Schulman, Daryl W. Sindel, Eugenia Slutzker, Henrietta Smilek, Steve D. Summer, Leonard Sternberg, Robert Tannenbaum, Minnie Terrace, Ruth Armstrong Weiner, Maximilian K. Margolis. If there are other names to be read or perhaps pronounced more correctly, I invite you to call them forward as my hand goes around the room. I invite all who are in mourning or who are remembering to rise first. And then we as a community rise to recite the words of Kaddish Yatom on page 86. Yitgadal v'yitkedash be'rabah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon, uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shmei rabba mevarach le'alam ulalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal. Shemei dekudcha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Usei shalom b'mromav, u'ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories always and only be for a blessing. And you may be seated. We have another fun tradition during the month of Elul, which is for us to hear the shofar sounded. We're turning on page 90 to, page 89, didn't I say that? To return Israel to the one who takes you back in love. The shofar is sounded from the first day of Elul until the eve of Rosh Hashanah to signal the approaching days of awe. The sound of the shofar implores us to engage in cheshbon hanefesh, an account of the soul. Amid shoutings of joy to the sound of shofar, the Holy One ascends. Let us ascend together as we hear the call of community, the voice of return. Let us ascend. As we feel the pull and power of tradition, let us ascend toward forgiveness and peace of mind, toward heartfelt change and acts of repair. Let us ascend to the sound of shofar. Let us enter the gates of teshuvah. on page 90. Number 4. The shofar sounds and I am awake. Shaken out of the days of sleep, I see the truth. The day of judgment approaches. Soon we will stand before the one who can't be flattered or fooled. Soon we will stand in the courtroom of conscience. Soon we will know the joy of beginning again. Turn to page 91. Yeah, I'll have you do it. That's a better idea. Much better. Shall I have them rise or not? It's not required, so we'll stay where we are. Page 91. Would you like to say the blessing for us?
Just what's here on the
Yep.
page. Okay, I'll shorten the version. Got it. Baruch atah Adonai shomea teruah. Tikiah. Shivarim teruah. Tikiah.
Yashakah. Much better when you do it. We all appreciate that. It's true. Shofars shofarot are quite particular to the person who chooses to use them. So I want to wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom. We're going to join together in the hallway for our Kiddush and Motzi, and I hope you'll take the opportunity to say thank you to Rabbi, you've been changed. Yeah, to Cantor Raisin. I see you as clergy and my equal. To Cantor Raisin for being here, for sharing her beautiful voice and really helping me out. So thank you. Shabbat Shalom.